Hello, I am Elizabeth of Lore. Welcome to my lore portal for interdimensional channeling, travel, and restoration. Today I am making this little video about rewriting the past to rewrite the present and the future, which is really useful for anyone who has had a difficult or traumatic past, or who has faced difficulties in the past that still feel like they are affecting you or blocking you in some way, which I think is most of us at some point. So, before I get into it, just a reminder, it would be awesome if you would like this video, subscribe to the channel if you're not already, and share with any friends who would also benefit from a little rewrite. So I'm going to talk today about something that I used to talk about a lot, but don't talk about too often anymore because it feels so distant, like 60,000 lifetimes away. But I think it's useful to bring up for the purposes of this video. So I'm going to get a little personal, which is to talk about my difficult past. So I was in, I was in a very abusive relationship when I was a teenager and in my early 20s. And I had post-traumatic stress disorder because of that for many, many years, and PTSD. And as a result of that, as a way of self-medicating that, I ended up becoming addicted to opioids for about 10 years. And this video isn't specifically about how I healed from that, but if you are interested in a video about my journey and how I was able to heal PTSD and addiction, leave a comment, let me know, and I'll make that video for you. So what this is about how I have rewritten my experience of that past in order to have a different reality now and in my future. So as I said, I was able to heal from PTSD and opioid addiction fully. I no longer meet diagnostic criteria for PTSD. I no longer am addicted to opioids, and I mean that very sincerely and very really, not just that I don't use them anymore, but that I'm no longer addicted to them. I no longer experience cravings. I don't have to go to continuing therapy or groups for the addiction. And this is a big deal for anyone who is familiar with sort of the Western models of those treatments, because Western medicine tells you that PTSD is incurable, is treatable, but incurable, and same with addiction, that a lot of people consider it a chronic relapsing brain disorder, and that it's something that you always have to manage and treat. But that's not the case. These things actually can be fully healed. And this isn't to say that I never experience difficulties or sadness or anxiety, but they are passing feelings that I don't feel the need to hold on to or medicate. Because those are normal experiences that arise in the human vessel, in the body, in the mind, but they can pass. And what this has resulted in being able to heal from this, from these really difficult experiences and these really difficult conditions that I had for many years, is that it has allowed me to rewrite my experience of them in the past. And this may also be a part of what healed it as well, is this rewriting. But what that has healed even more than the past is my present. So what I mean by this is that I've reframed it. So in the past, when I still had PTSD, when I was still dealing with this addiction that was very, very difficult and painful, I would think about, for example, the abuse I experienced, and I would feel really bad about it. And I would feel like it was the worst thing, like my life had been taken away from me and ruined, and that I was always, even if I didn't consciously always verbalize it this way, I felt like a victim, like I was someone who had been just robbed of my childhood and robbed of the rest of my life through abuse, and then the repercussions of abuse afterwards. And because of that, it was really difficult for me to do anything. I didn't pursue a lot of interests that I had. I was very depressed. I felt like life wasn't worth living. I tried to take my life. I was just someone who didn't feel like there was really anything. I didn't belong here. I didn't have anywhere really to go. I did have aspirations, but I didn't always feel like I could actually accomplish any of them, and I didn't feel a lot of joy in my life. If I did, it was very fleeting, and usually I had to be on heroin in order to be able to even experience that joy. And that's no longer the case. I have this amazing life that I love. I am happy more often than not. I have an amazing boyfriend who's very supportive and kind. I live in this really cool collective of artists and musicians and healers. I do art all the time and have an amazing community of friends. And I just went to Thailand and Japan and had a really amazing experience there. It's a life that I, at one point in my past, felt was completely unattainable. And while there are aspects of my life that I would like to improve or go further with, I feel that I'm on that path. I'm doing it. It's just I'm on the road to it. It's not something that's unattainable. It's just it's a goal that I'm moving towards, and I'm doing it. I'm moving towards it. And it feels good. I feel good. So one of the things that I did to rewrite that past that once made me feel trapped and helpless and robbed of a life was to actually look back on it with gratitude. And that can seem very strange, right? How can you feel gratitude for having been viciously abused as a young person? How can you feel gratitude for going through the harrows of opioid addiction? How can you feel gratitude for such deep trauma? But I do, and the reason is that I recognize that having gone through all of that and having healed from it has allowed me now to carry the vibration of healing from very, very difficult things. And that means that by simply being around people who may be experiencing the same things or other traumas that in the 3D would be categorized differently but are still on that same energetic spectrum of trauma, simply my presence around those people is something that is an offering, is something that can heal them. I don't even have to tell people what I went through. I don't have to talk to them about it. I don't have to advise anyone. I simply exist. And by simply existing, I'm helping people. And that's an amazing feeling, especially coming from a place where I felt that I was desperate for help and that I was the person who always needed to be helped, who always was screaming and crying and wanting to be loved and wanting to be held and wanting to be given things and given help and just made better, fixed. Now I get to be the person who just exists, and by simply existing holds a vibration of healing that helps others. And it's an amazing feeling. It really is. So that is how I've rewritten my past so that it no longer bothers me. And I can talk about what I went through and not feel anger and not carry that anger forward into my current life or into my future. In the past, I used to talk about all of this stuff a lot more. I actually used to be a journalist, and so a lot of my journalism was covering other issues, but a lot of it was also just telling my own story, and it was in a very angry way. And I felt at the time, and not that it was wrong of me to do that, but I felt at the time that by telling the world about the darkness that is in the world, I was shedding light on it and inspiring others to do something about it. And maybe I did do that, but it was coming from a place of anger, and it was coming from a place of wounding, and it was coming from a place of wanting to force others to fix a wound that had been inflicted on me and I knew was being inflicted on other people. Now, I don't share the story so much because I know that my mere presence is healing that wound. However, when I do share it like this, it's also coming from a place of joy. It's coming from a place of gratitude. It's coming from a place of just okayness, right? Like I can look back on that past and just feel okay about it. I feel a little bit maybe sad for the child that experienced that, the child that I once was, but the person I am now is not sad because of it, right? So it's different. It's a little bit like, oh, it's too bad that young person had to go through all of that. However, I'm also grateful because that young person is grown into me, this person, and I'm grateful for who I am. And that's another way that rewriting the past has changed my present, right? Now I'm grateful for who I am. I used to feel wrong. I used to feel dirty, which is very common in people who survived trauma, especially interpersonal trauma. And that's not because it's true, but it's something that's very commonly felt. Just this sense that we don't offer anything to anyone and maybe even cause harm by existing somehow. And I don't feel that way anymore because I've been able to rewrite that traumatic past into something that is empowering and healing and something I can be proud of, something I went through something very difficult, I healed from it, and now I can help others by simply existing. And that is a beautiful feeling. So my message here is to invite you to do the same with whatever is blocking you, or that you feel is blocking you. Can you look at it? And I guarantee you, if you do this honestly, you can. Can you look at it and rewrite how you experience it now? Yes, you may have been harmed in the past. You may have experienced it very negatively when it happened in the past. But now, can you experience it in a different way? And here's another little bit of information that can help you do that. So you may or may not already know this, but memories are essentially fictions that we continuously tell ourselves. We don't actually remember the past. Every time we remember something, we are remembering the last time we remembered it. Let that sink in if you've never heard it before. It's true. Every time you remember something, whether something positive or something negative, every time you remember it, you're not actually remembering it. You're remembering the last time you remembered it. So you can, right now, choose to remember your past in a different way. And the next time you remember it, you will remember how you chose to remember it the last time. And that will continue forward. So this really does work. All you have to do is choose and change how you're looking at your past. And when you remember it in the future, you will be remembering that changed perspective. And that will help you rewrite your self-concept and help you rewrite your present narrative, which rewrites your future narrative. And you can do this at any moment. You can do this at any moment. If you don't feel up to it right now, you could do it some other time, whenever you feel ready. I invite and encourage you to do it right now. But if that feels out of reach, that's okay, because you can do it. You have the information now and you can do it whenever you want. And it really does work. Even if it feels disingenuous the first time or the first couple times you're doing it, I invite you to keep doing it anyway, because you really are going to rewrite the way you're remembering that. And eventually that's just going to become natural. And that's going to change how you feel about what happened in the past. And that's going to change how it affects you now. Right? So everything we're experiencing in this dimension, in this reality, is a story that we're telling ourselves. And we can let that story hold us back, or we can let that story set us free. Rewrite your past so that your story sets you free. You can do it. All right, that is the message for today. I hope it helps. Leave a comment, let me know if you do it and how it feels for you. If you'd like me to make that video talking more in depth about how I healed from PTSD and addiction, let me know and I'll make that for you. Leave a comment. Please like the video. Please subscribe to the channel. Share with any friends. This might help. And I will see you next time.